Hi and welcome. This is Kevin Leipzig, host of Contractor TV. Contractor TV is focused on providing content to help contractors start, grow, and manage a successful construction business. We're sponsored by the Contractors Resource Center, which specializes in providing legal, financial, and insurance services for contractors. Today, we have David Tran from Prosperous Law Group in California. David, welcome. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. I am really excited to have this video recording for helping contractors and helping them understand specifically when they need workers' comp insurance, and specifically what is a 1099 employee and when is somebody an actual employee. So David, I guess before we jump in, maybe tell us a little bit about Prosperous Law Group and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I've been a lawyer for probably 25 years, and I sort of fell into the construction industry by way of my previous law firm. And once I learned the ins and outs of construction law, then my focus really started beginning around how to take care of family-owned construction businesses as they navigate the legal industry. Contractors, bless their heart, they're wonderful on how to build a project, how to plan a project, but not so much on the business end.
Yeah.
And so we would see clients get taken advantage of, or not being able to collect money, and that jeopardizes their business. And so that's where our focus really sort of gelled around on those clients and taking care of contractors. Okay.
Perfect. And I know you mentioned the importance of running a business. I know we have a future video we're going to record on the importance of having a contract in place, right? Whether it's with a subcontractor or the homeowner agreement. So I'm looking forward to getting that done as well. And part of the reason I'm really excited about this is, our core business at the Contractors Resource Center, although, we help with legal and financial and insurance, our competency and our core is really insurance. So talking to contractors about general liability insurance or workers' comp insurance, and specifically working with newly licensed contractors, the topic always comes up when they're ready to hire their first employee. Do I really need workers' comp insurance? What does it cover? What's it for? Can I get away with hiring some guys at Home Depot, right? And we all know that's kind of the nature of the business. When is somebody a 1099 employee? So there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace. So let's start with maybe helping us understand, at what point should a contractor consider workers' comp insurance when they're ready to hire somebody part-time or full-time?
Well, it's no secret when you're starting out, you're trying to save money as a contractor. So a lot of contractors just automatically declare, hey, I have no employees, I'm exempt from having to buy workers' comp. But the practical reality is when you're out there doing the work, it's not only you, the contractors. Often you have your family member, your wife handling the books, or you need a couple of laborers to help you carry the load. Well,
right.
In the eyes of the workers' comp, they are your employees, unless they have their own business license, unless they have their own contractor's license. In which case, if you hire them, they can be a true independent contractor because they know what they're doing. They're professional. You don't have to, watch out and take care of them. But if they are unskilled labor, people who don't have their own contractor's license, they're going to be deemed your employee. And if you have them working on a project and they don't have workers' compensation insurance, you've now opened a Pandora's box of problems. Okay, some problems people will ignore. Some problems people who are looking to not pay you or to cheat you will jump on because they know that these are surefire signs that you're basically not minding your money. Okay. I have a saying, you wouldn't leave cash open in your truck while you're working. Okay. So if you hire people without workers' comp, you're essentially leaving all your money in your pickup cab and hoping that nobody takes it.
Okay, great explanation. Clarify a little bit about, what would actually be a 1099 employee? I get that question a lot. Where a contractor's ready to hire somebody, says, I'm just going to 1099 them. Can you clarify that a little further for us?
Okay. So if you go to Home Depot and you grab a couple of guys off
Throw
the
them in the
parking
truck,
lot on your
right?
truck and say, all right, I'll pay you, $150 a day to do labor work. And
Right.
you pay them $150 a day. You're not holding any taxes back. You're not
Right.
paying
It's cash under the
right,
table, right?
cash
And
under the
cash at the end of
table.
the day. Yeah, right.
Right. So those are 1099. Because if you have to declare tax, you would just say, hey, I paid this guy $150. Here's my receipt that I paid him $150, right? And so at the end of the year, you would issue them a 1099. The same as if you hired a licensed contractor to do the same work. $150 to do the work, and once the job is finished, you would pay them the $150, and then at the end of the year, issue them a 1099 form
Right.
saying, I paid them $150.
Sure.
That differs from an employee that you're withholding taxes on, you're paying the appropriate county, state taxes, you're paying the workers' comp tax, right?
Yeah.
Those are W-2 employees, all right, and your workers' compensation insurance carrier will say, all right, tally up all your payroll for the month. They want to see how many people were paid under a W-2, and then they match it up with what you claim or what you're proposing to pay for workers' comp, and they match it up. If you underpay your workers' comp insurance, they do what's called a true up at the end of the year.
The
Where they
audit.
say, all right, let's do an audit. Do you really have 5 guys at $10 or $15 an hour versus your true payroll? And it's at here, it shows that you have, 7 guys at, $19 an hour.
Right.
Then they're going to take up the difference and say, all right, we're going to back bill you for that.
Little surprise bill. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. No, good reminder. And for those that are curious in terms of, for today, we're really talking about 1099 versus employee, but I thought I'd help clarify what you're talking about, this audit and the bills that people are paying to workers' comp at the end of the year. There's essentially, 2 models of how a contractor would pay workers' comp. There's the kind of pay as you go, which is a kind of a payroll reporting. The benefit to that is there's hopefully not really a surprise at the end of the year because you're paying as you go. And then the other model, which is really more common, is forecasting what your expected payroll is going to be. And depending on the work type, whether it's an electrician or a plumber or a builder, each classification has a rate per $100 of payroll. And so the cost of payroll is based upon that estimated yearly payroll. And then you make monthly payments on that estimate. And that's like what David mentioned at the end of the year, they're going to true up and look at your actual payroll reports and look at what you paid. And in some cases, you might earn some money back. So that's important. It's just kind of a little side note on how the model of paying for workers' comp goes. It's essentially a percentage of your payroll or a percentage per $100 of payroll. But getting back to, what I want to really address too is the concern over a lot of new contractors, again, that potentially would take that risk of going to Home Depot, like you said, or Lowe's, right? And picking up day laborers and paying cash under the table. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, legally and financially, what's the risks in doing that of paying somebody under the table and them having an accident, falling off the ladder, falling off the roof, God forbid, and they get hurt. What is the legal liability of that business owner, of that contractor, if they don't have workers' comp insurance.
Okay. As a contractor, and no matter what state you're in, most states have a contractor licensing board. There are the rules are similarly situated. But essentially, the purpose of a contractor's license board is to regulate contractors to make sure they are doing at least the minimum requirement as far as performance, and also at a minimum requirement to keep the employees safe, right? And the
Safety training.
safety training, and also, at a minimum, to protect the interests of the homeowner. Who are they going to be deemed the unsophisticated homeowner, no matter if this is their first home or their 20th home. So the contractor's license board will want to also ensure that unlicensed contractors don't have an unfair advantage over licensed contractors, or that unlicensed contractors are not able to charge lower rates because they're not paying workers' compensation or they're not paying general liability, and have an unfair advantage over your licensed contractors. So what they want to, from the perspective of the if you're a contractor and you don't buy workers' comp insurance, okay, you may be deemed out of compliance with your licensing. Okay, well, what does that mean? That means that if you are out of compliance with your licensing, you may be subject to what's called disgorgement. Disgorgement is a penalty that the contracting board and the legislature had developed to say, no, it is so important that all contractors abide by these rules, that if we catch you not abiding by these rules and not playing by the rules, we will force you to give up every dollar you've earned or billed on a project and make you pay it back to the homeowner. Even if the homeowner knew you were unlicensed, okay, that we're going to hold the contractor's feet to the fire and force them to behave in a professional manner and follow the rules and buy workers' compensation and to buy general liability and to keep their license pristine. Well, so for example, if the project, including labor and material, is $200,000 and the homeowner paid you all that money, and then later finds out that you are an unlicensed contractor, they can sue you and force you to give back all $200,000. Whether or not you have it or not, they're going to get a judgment against you. And in the eyes of the contracting board or your trade association, they will all say, yep, you deserve it, because it is in society's best interest to make sure everyone complies and at least follows the same set of rules, to not have an unfair advantage over someone else.
Okay. So a question, David. So this new term, did you say what was that term you used?
Disgorgement.
Discouragement, not discouragement, discouragement.
It's a tough word to follow. Disgorgement, yes. It is codified in Business Professions Code 7131, and depending on your state, they may have a similar model for that. But it essentially says that unless your license is in good standing, quote unquote, and in good standing means that your workers' compensation insurance is there, your general liability insurance, and your license for the right category of work.
Right. Very
That's
important.
a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, but you need to have your license in good standing, not in suspension. Your insurance is up to par, and then you can build a client.
So in simple terms, this discouragement is essentially synonymous with being compliant or being having, like you said, the license, the insurance, having the, code of ethics, I guess, if you will, of writing, having the proper, everything in place to do business as a contractor, right? I'm kind of struggling for the words, but I'm trying to
Correct.
simplify it, right? It's making sure that contractor is licensed and insured, and if not, then it falls into this term of disgorgement, which can expose that contractor, that business owner, into a financial loss if they're not being compliant. Did I just kind of summarize that correctly?
Correct. Now, who can make a
Okay.
claim against the contractor? It's typically the owner of the project, or if you're working as a subcontractor for a general contractor, the general contractor, can say, you're out of compliance. I noticed your license statute. It
Is
won't
suspended
or
or
suspended, or
okay.
you have labored and you told me you don't have workers' comp, then the general contractor can say, well, I don't have to pay you. Sorry, buddy, but I need to comply with the law. So imagine all the scenarios where a homeowner might be mad at a contractor, or a general contractor may be mad at you as a subcontractor and decide, you know what, I'm not legally obligated to pay you. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can try to sue me, but you're not going to get anywhere because the law is that clear. And there is only one exception to that law, right? That's called a substantial compliance law. If you had done everything else perfectly and there's only a little technical mistake, you can try
A little bit of grace.
but generally those fail and you'll end up spending a lot more money than you'll ever make on this.
Right.
So it is extremely important that contractors have a good relationship with the insurance broker, right? And to say, hey, look, I'm about to get into the field of work. I plan on doing really good work. Make sure I have a solid foundation. Okay, that's where your accountant, your attorneys, your insurance broker work together
right,
as a team to make sure that you have a solid foundation for growth. Otherwise, you're building on shaky ground. You're building on sand.
Great explanation. I appreciate you kind of clarifying that. The other common scenario that we run into at the Contractors Resource Center in helping licensed contractors with workers' comp or general liability is around their questions about subs, right? Hiring the sub. What's the expectation that the sub should have workers' comp insurance? Can you talk to us a little bit about the requirements of workers' comp when a contractor is hiring a sub?
Right. If you're a general contractor and you get a job doing, framing, roofing, and and plumbing. Okay. So for and you don't have your own employees, so it's probably better to hire a roofing company to come in and do the roof because they have expertise. But trades such as roofing have a very high workers' compensation expense because all the potential people falling out the roof. So when you hire them, a licensed subcontractor, you're going to ask them, hey, I'll hire you. I'll pay you the extra money, right? But I need you to guarantee that you have workers' comp in case of an injury. So in that expectation, if they have workers' compensation and an injury occurs, there's coverage for that. If their injury occurred and they lied and they didn't have workers' comp insurance, you as a general contractor can say, hey, I relied on this licensed roofing company, and they said they promised me that they have workers' comp, and then later it turns out that they didn't. I should have a free pass.
Right.
So that would protect you against disgorgement from the owner, but it won't protect you from the injured employee who's going to sue somebody.
Right.
And usually the workers' compensation scheme and say, well, if your immediate employer doesn't have workers' compensation, we'll go up the chain of command. And if the general contractor doesn't have workers' comp insurance, then we'll look to the owner. And then it becomes the owner's problem to pay for the injured employee. Imagine if the owner gets hit with a surprise bill from a workers' comp, they're going to turn around and, and threaten the general contractor. Well, I'm not paying you.
Right.
Because I'm now, you've left me with the problem of an injured employee.
Mhm.
So if those employees do not have workers' comp, they end up being an employee of the owner. Okay.
Yeah, interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes when we're working, especially with newly licensed contractors, we're talking about general liability insurance for a contractor or workers' compensation insurance for a contractor. A lot of times, we'll have the discussion, well, I don't have many assets. I'm not worried about getting sued. What are they going to get? I don't own a home. I don't own my car. And then I'll share with them, not only the importance of having liability or workers' comp if they have employees, but the potential financial risk they're taking, even though they don't have assets. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe if they lose in a lawsuit and they're found liable, the court can essentially garnish wages for, I don't know, the rest of their life or some period of time until that suit is paid. Can you kind of confirm that for me or kind of clarify how that would work?
Unfortunately, that's true. If a contractor gets hit with a lawsuit and just wants to hide his head in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist, and the
Right.
lawsuit goes forward, and they'll win against you for default if you don't, respond to the lawsuit. So if you don't address the workers' comp lawsuit and they win, two or three things happen. That whoever wins a judgment against you
The judgment, right?
can hold a judgment against the individual or the company, the general contractor company, if you're a corporation or an LLC, or if you do business as a sole proprietor, then they have a judgment against you, the individual. And at least in California, they can move to prevent you from getting another license. They can, prevent you from getting a bond to get another contractor's license. And they can prevent you from working for someone else as an employee, because whoever hires you will have to deal with your judgment and pay that off. And so, a contractor who is looking to hire employee, they want to make sure that that employee doesn't come with all sorts of baggage, such as wage garnishment, such as a trial court judgment. Okay, so those are the things that prevent a contractor from trying to just build a new entity for himself. Okay, until he addresses those problems that he helped create. So you have the surety or the bond company breathing down your neck. You have the workers' comp carrier breathing down your neck. And then they, in turn, put pressure on the licensing board to prevent you from renewing your license or even being employed by another contractor. So the risk that it poses, it magnifies, it intensifies by if a contractor chooses to just say, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna, hope for the best. Unfortunately, those situations end up rather badly.
Certainly a percentage of them, right? And sometimes I'll have the conversation, we're talking about insurance for contractors that, we'll get the pushback, I can't afford the insurance. And it's almost like having that tough love conversation, right? Well, maybe you're not ready to have a business yet, right? If you can't, afford to have, the legal contracts you should have, or the type of proper liability insurance in place for contractors, maybe you're not quite ready, right? And I've had those conversations, especially with newly licensed contractors. They don't realize the costs to really protect themselves. Right.
And and as a newly licensed contractor, people can tell your license number is really high. You have the deer in the headlight look, and you get taken advantage. Remember back as a freshman in high school, You know, the upperclassmen should have
The
a
hazing.
field day with
Yeah.
you because
Yeah.
you don't know any better. The
Right.
real world is a lot like that, and people will take advantage of a newly licensed contractor.
Or you don't know what you don't know, right?
Correct. You know, and then until you get some gray hair under you and you get some experience, then you'll know how to
Right.
avoid problems.
Right.
But
Right.
again, it all goes towards having a solid foundation. You know, I tell my client, look, you know, if you're going to put in the amount of effort and energy and skill to doing really good work, why would you leave this whole other aspect of your business unattended to, only to watch it fail?
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
you're right. It's a matter of tough love. You're right. We repeat to our client, if you're not ready to do it, don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you fail.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well,
knowing
David,
how good a work you do.
yeah, well, we covered a lot. Really appreciate the time. Very informative. For those watching the video, you'll see the phone number for our contact information up above. So any questions regarding, construction insurance, like general liability insurance, workers' comp insurance, legal issues in terms of, setting up a contract or, anything legal related, construction related, David is going to be a great resource for you. So feel free to reach out. The contact information is up there. David, again, thanks for the info. Is there anything we missed or anything else you want to make sure you share with people about this topic?
No, we look forward to having more conversations with you, and we are on different subjects. But
Yeah, we're going to record a few more videos. Yeah, there's a lot of content here.
right, and
Yeah.
again, the goal is to help contractors grow the business and prosper.
And
All right.
protect the business.
Thank you very
right?
much.
All right, David, take care. Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of the day.
All right, take care. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.